Every year, January arrives with so much promise. You wake up on the first day of the year, energized, telling yourself, this is it. This is the year you'll break free from the patterns that have held you back. The year you'll take control of your life, your habits, your future. But then, the weeks slip by. By March, those big dreams feel distant, buried under work deadlines, family responsibilities, and distractions. Sound familiar? Now let me ask you, how many more years are you willing to let slip through your fingers? How long will you wait to demand the best from yourself? The truth is, 2025 won't be different unless you make it different. That's why today I'm here to share the key to real, lasting change, rooted in timeless Stoic philosophy and backed by modern science. If you've ever struggled to stick to your resolutions, stay resilient under pressure, or find clarity in the chaos, this is for you. So, before we dive in, do one thing. Hit that like button and subscribe to Stoic Narratives Official, where we turn ancient wisdom into practical tools for your modern life. Because this isn't about dreaming, it's about doing. And in this video, I'll show you how to make 2025 the best year of your life, one small, powerful step at a time. Let's get started. Number 1. What's holding you back? What's truly stopping you from living the life you've always wanted? It's a question I've asked myself countless times. The start of a new year brings hope and determination. We set lofty goals, plan our days, and tell ourselves, this time it's different. But as the months go by, that initial motivation fades. By spring, the promises we made to ourselves are buried under the demands and chaos of daily life. A man I know, a successful professional in his early 50s, describes how every January he'd resolved to get healthier, spend more quality time with his family, and finally declutter his home office. But by March, his treadmill had become a decorative piece gathering dust, and work emails once again dominated his weekends. This pattern isn't unique to him. I've seen it play out countless times for others, including myself. Why does this happen? Why do we keep falling into the same cycle year after year? The problem lies not in the goals we set, but in the way we approach them. We set ourselves up for failure without even realizing it. Our brains, inherently wired for comfort, crave the rush that comes with setting goals, but falter when faced with the consistent work required to achieve them. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus wisely said, "How long are you going to wait before you demand the best for yourself?" This question not only rings true in Stoic wisdom, but also aligns with what modern neuroscience tells us. Motivation, although essential, is a fleeting resource. It's like a spark. It can ignite a fire but cannot keep it burning consistently. So, how do you break this cycle? How can you set and achieve meaningful goals without letting the distractions and uncertainties of life derail you? The first step is to reflect on your past. What truly derailed you in previous years? Was it overcommitting? Setting unrealistic expectations for yourself? Or perhaps you lacked a clear, structured plan? A woman I spoke to shared how, in her earlier attempts, she made the mistake of trying to change everything all at once. Every January, she aimed to overhaul her routine completely. Exercise every day, start meal prepping, and clean out every closet in the house. But by February, the pressure was overwhelming. She was exhausted, and when the changes she made didn't stick, she gave up completely. Her story is not unlike many others. This cycle is common, and the key to breaking it lies in the approach. Instead of aiming for drastic changes right away, the trick is to set small, manageable goals. Start with 2 days of exercise per week, not 5. Focus on one drawer to declutter instead of the entire house. It's about achieving small victories, which generate momentum. Each time you succeed, your brain releases dopamine, reinforcing the behavior and making it easier to continue. These small wins serve as building blocks, turning your long-term goals into a series of achievable steps and boosting your confidence along the way. Another valuable tool for staying on track is journaling. You may be skeptical at first, but writing down your progress, what worked, what didn't, and where you faltered, builds critical awareness. It keeps you accountable. One man I spoke to told me that journaling transformed his approach to achieving goals. It helped him spot patterns he hadn't noticed before, such as how skipping his evening routine led to a chaotic next morning. By documenting this and being mindful of his habits, he was able to make adjustments before things spiraled. Now, I want you to ask yourself, how many years have you set goals only to watch them slip away? Each time you tell yourself, this year will be different, and then get discouraged, you're reinforcing a pattern. But what if this year truly could be different? What if 2025 could be the year that everything finally clicked into place? Think about what has been holding you back. Take a moment to reflect deeply on the past and identify what stopped you from following through. Maybe it's been fear, doubt, or simply a lack of consistency. But consider this. No matter what has held you back in the past, you can change that with one small, actionable step today. The future doesn't change by chance. It changes by decision. Each choice you make, from how you manage your time to how you respond to setbacks, shapes the outcome. Rather than waiting for motivation to strike, develop the discipline and resilience to keep moving forward, step by step. If you commit to one small change today, just one, that's progress. You don't need to overhaul your entire life or make grand gestures. All it takes is consistency, awareness, and reflection. So, as you think about your goals for 2025, remember that success isn't determined by how much you can do at once. It's the small, intentional steps you take, day by day, month by month, that will set you on the path to success. And when you build momentum from these small steps, you'll look back at the end of the year and realize that your progress was far greater than you ever thought possible. The key to making 2025 the best year of your life is simple. Begin today, set realistic goals, reflect regularly, and stay committed. The choice is yours, and it starts now. Number 2, are you ready for life's chaos? Life has a way of throwing us curveballs, doesn't it? One moment, everything is going smoothly, and the next, something completely unexpected disrupts your plans. Whether it's a last-minute work deadline, a family crisis, or even something as seemingly trivial as a flat tire before an important meeting, life's challenges test our patience and composure at the most inconvenient times. I once spoke with a man in his late 40s who shared an experience that deeply resonated with me. He described how one chaotic morning, oversleeping, missing his gym session, spilling coffee on a crucial document, and feeling frazzled all before noon, had snowballed into a terrible week. By lunchtime, his stress had reached a boiling point, and he found himself snapping at his team during a meeting. Later, reflecting on the situation, he told me, "It wasn't the chaos that ruined my day. It was how I reacted to it." And this, my friend, is the essence of resilience. It's not about avoiding chaos because life will inevitably throw its challenges at you. It's about how you respond when chaos appears. The Stoics knew this well. As Epictetus put it, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. This isn't just philosophical wisdom. Modern neuroscience supports this principle too. Studies show that practicing mindfulness can reduce the activation of your brain's amygdala, the part responsible for the fight-or-flight response. When we train our minds to stay calm under pressure, we can face stressors with greater clarity and composure. So how can you start building resilience for the inevitable challenges ahead? Begin with something simple. 5 minutes of mindfulness each morning. Find a quiet space, sit comfortably, and focus on your breathing. Allow your thoughts to come and go without judgment or attachment. It may feel uncomfortable at first, especially when your to-do list is running through your mind like a speeding train. But stick with it. Over time, this practice will train your mind to stay present, even when life throws the unexpected your way. Movement is another powerful tool for resilience. A walk around the block, or even a few minutes of stretching, can work wonders, especially in stressful situations. One woman I worked with found evening walks to be her mental reset. She told me, "When things feel overwhelming, a walk clears my mind and brings me back to the present moment, better than anything else." It's true. Physical movement doesn't just relax your body, it triggers the release of endorphins, those wonderful chemicals your brain produces to improve mood and alleviate stress. And in those truly overwhelming moments, when it feels like everything is spinning out of control, you can lean on a grounding mantra. Something as simple as, "I control my response, not the situation," can remind you where your true power lies. When life tests your patience, these words can pull you back into your center, helping you face the challenge calmly and confidently. Now let me ask you, how do you respond when life throws you a curveball? Do you allow it to derail your whole day, or do you rise above it and take control of the situation? Imagine walking into 2025 with the ability to navigate chaos with confidence and composure, no matter what comes your way. Resilience isn't just an idealistic concept, it's a skill, one that you can start cultivating today. With consistent effort, you'll be able to build the mental toughness necessary to handle whatever life throws at you. So, what's stopping you from taking that first step towards building resilience today? The best year of your life starts when you start mastering your response to chaos. What's holding you back from making that decision now? Number 3, why big goals fail. We've all been there, right? That initial rush of excitement at the start of a new year when you tell yourself, this is my year, I'm going to lose 30 pounds, write a book, run a marathon. It's a bold declaration, and for a brief moment it feels like all of your dreams are within reach. But then, just a few weeks in, reality sets in. You get distracted, life gets busy, and slowly but surely the goals you set start to slip away. By week 3, it all falls apart. So, why does this happen? The truth is that big goals are incredibly exciting, but they can also be overwhelming. The enthusiasm and drive that you have in the beginning can quickly give way to feelings of doubt, frustration, or even failure when the size of the goal feels too much to handle. The bigger the goal, the harder it is to know where to start, and as a result, many of us freeze, thinking that we have to achieve everything all at once. A man I spoke to recently went through a similar experience. He decided to completely overhaul his health and wellness. He signed up for an expensive gym membership, filled his fridge with kale and quinoa, and promised himself he would exercise every day. By the time February came, he found himself overwhelmed, exhausted, and sneaking donuts in his car on his way home from work. He had taken on too much too soon. His goal was too big, and his pace was too fast. I wanted to change everything all at once, he told me, but in the end, I ended up quitting everything instead. This is where Stoic philosophy offers us a valuable lesson. Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, once said, "Well-being is attained by little and little, and nevertheless is no little thing." In other words, true transformation doesn't happen in grand sweeping changes. It is achieved through small, steady steps. Modern science supports this idea. Research on habit formation shows that it's much more effective to make small, consistent actions than to try to change everything in one dramatic shift. When we make small wins, our brain releases dopamine, the feel-good chemical, that helps to reinforce the positive behavior. This means that each small success not only brings us closer to our larger goal, but also boosts our motivation to take the next step. And that momentum is key. So, instead of setting a goal to completely overhaul your life from the start, break your objectives down into manageable chunks. If your goal is to get fit, commit to exercising just twice a week at first. If you want to declutter your home, start with organizing one drawer instead of tackling the entire garage. Initially, it might feel like you're not doing enough, but here's where the magic happens. Small wins compound over time. They create a ripple effect that ultimately makes the bigger goal much more achievable. I know one woman who applied this principle to her finances. Rather than trying to save a large portion of her paycheck all at once, she began by cutting one small expense, her daily latte. For a year, this small sacrifice added up, and she had saved enough money to take her family on a vacation. She laughed as she told me, "I never thought giving up coffee would get us to Hawaii, but here we are." Another key strategy is celebrating those small victories along the way. Whether it's completing your second workout of the week or finally sorting out that one troublesome drawer, take a moment to recognize your progress. Treat yourself to something healthy you enjoy, or simply revel in the satisfaction of having achieved one more step toward your goal. Celebrating these small wins not only boosts your mood, but also reinforces your determination to keep going. Now, let me ask you this. How many big goals have you abandoned because they seem too impossible to achieve? What if, instead of focusing on the enormity of the goal, you focused on just one small, meaningful step to take today? Imagine how much closer you'd be to your big dreams by the end of 2025 if you simply committed to building on one small victory at a time. So what is the first step you'll take right now? It doesn't matter how small it is, it's the direction that matters most. Your journey to success begins today, one small step at a time. What's holding you back from taking it? Number 4. Who's keeping you accountable? Let's face it, how many times have you set a goal only to see it slowly fade into the background, forgotten and abandoned, because there was no one there to keep you accountable? You can promise yourself that you'll start tomorrow, but somehow, tomorrow never comes. You push it aside and tell yourself it's okay, but eventually, weeks and months go by, and your goals are left unmet. This is a cycle we all experience, but the question remains, why does it happen? A man I know once set a goal to read more books to grow his knowledge. Armed with a stack of bestsellers, he told himself he would read one book a week. But with no external accountability to ensure his follow-through, those books sat untouched on his nightstand. It became easier to ignore his goal every day. I realized I needed someone to hold me accountable, he told me. Without that, I kept finding excuses, and eventually, my good intentions disappeared. This is where accountability plays a crucial role. It's a simple concept, but one that we often overlook. Stoic philosopher Seneca once said, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you." Modern psychology echoes this sentiment. Studies show that having an accountability partner increases the chances of reaching your goals by 65%. And when you add regular check-ins, that success rate skyrockets to 95%. The power of accountability comes from the simple fact that when you know someone else is watching your progress, it's much harder to back out. The goal is no longer just something you're doing for yourself, it's part of a larger commitment, and you're now answerable to someone else as well. Now, how do you establish that accountability framework? It's simpler than you might think. Start by partnering with someone who shares similar ambitions. It could be a close friend, a coworker, or even your spouse. The key is finding someone who understands your goals, encourages you, and pushes you to keep going, even when the going gets tough. Take a woman I know who joined forces with her neighbor for morning walks. There were many days she felt too tired or unmotivated to get moving, but her neighbor's simple text said, "See you in 10 minutes." was all it took to get her out the door. Knowing someone was counting on her meant she couldn't let herself down, and this accountability became a crucial part of her routine. Of course, technology can make this process even easier. Use apps, shared calendars, or group chats to keep track of your progress and stay on top of regular check-ins. I once worked with a man who wanted to commit to a consistent fitness routine. He set up a simple Google Sheet where he logged his workouts and fitness goals and then shared them with a friend. His friend not only congratulated him with positive comments like, "Great job," but also helped him stay on course when he fell short. Those small interactions might seem insignificant at the moment, but they provided a crucial boost of motivation, ensuring that his fitness goals stayed alive even when his motivation fluctuated. However, accountability isn't only about relying on others. It's equally about maintaining self-discipline and staying true to your promises. Are you holding yourself to the same standards as you would expect from others? If you're committed to something, do you follow through, even when it feels difficult? Self-accountability is just as important as external accountability, because at the end of the day, you are the only one who has complete control over your decisions. Without the internal discipline to keep your promises to yourself, even the best external systems might not be enough. Now think about your goals for the year ahead. Who in your life can help you stay accountable? Imagine how different 2025 could be if you had someone in your corner pushing you to stay consistent, no matter the obstacles or challenges that arise. Accountability doesn't have to be complicated, but the impact it can have on your success is profound. By creating a support network and being honest with yourself, you will vastly increase your chances of turning your dreams into reality. So, who will you ask to join you on this journey? The difference between simply wishing for success and achieving it may come down to having the right person in your corner. Number 5. Why clutter is your enemy? Have you ever walked into a cluttered room and felt a weight descend on your shoulders before you even had a chance to sit down and get to work? The energy drain you feel is not just in your head, it's real. Clutter, whether it's physical or mental, carries a heavy load that slows you down and makes even simple tasks feel overwhelming. I know a man who, every time he sat down at his home office, was greeted by a mountain of old papers, unopened mail, and random gadgets that hadn't seen the light of day in years. Despite wanting to get work done, he admitted that he often found himself frozen, unable to focus, as if his mind was clouded by the clutter surrounding him. "It felt like my brain just shut down as soon as I walked in," he confessed. Clutter is not only about a mess in your physical environment, it's about the mental burden it creates. One of the core tenets of Stoic philosophy and teaching that has guided many successful people is the value of simplicity. Marcus Aurelius, the famous Stoic philosopher and Roman emperor, wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." When your surroundings are chaotic, it creates an environment that reflects that inner disorder. It affects your concentration and adds unnecessary stress. Modern psychology affirms this, showing that clutter can lead to elevated levels of anxiety and frustration, impairing decision-making and cognitive function. So, when your space is cluttered, your mind tends to mirror that disarray, leaving you feeling scattered and overwhelmed. But you don't need to tackle everything at once. The key to overcoming the paralysis that clutter brings is to start small. Make it a weekend project, and choose just one area at a time to declutter, whether it's your desk, your closet, or even your car. A woman I worked with started by focusing on the kitchen drawers. To her surprise, she found 5 can openers, none of which were useful, and hardly any room for the items she needed. It wasn't just about clearing out physical stuff, she told me. It was about clearing the mental weight I didn't even know I was carrying around. Each drawer she organized wasn't just an act of cleaning. It was freeing herself from mental clutter and creating a space for peace and productivity. Now consider that clutter doesn't only exist in the form of tangible things, it can also manifest as emotional baggage. Have you ever noticed how unresolved conflicts or unspoken frustrations hold you back from moving forward? Emotional clutter accumulates over time, quietly taking up space in your life, and you may not even realize the toll it's taking on you. One man I know reached out to an old friend with whom he'd fallen out years ago over a small misunderstanding. That conversation didn't just repair a friendship, it liberated him from years of anger and resentment, freeing his mind from emotional clutter. His experience taught him that emotional baggage can be just as draining as physical clutter. When you clear the clutter from your life, it is vital to maintain that clarity. One simple approach is the one in, one out rule. Every time you bring something new into your space, make sure to discard something you no longer need. This method is effective for both physical and emotional clutter. In your physical environment, it might mean donating items you've outgrown or have no practical use for. With emotional clutter, it could mean having honest, liberating conversations or addressing unresolved issues that you've been avoiding. A second trick is to give everything a designated place. When each item in your life, whether physical or mental, has its place, it's far easier to keep things organized, reducing the chance of unnecessary accumulation. So let me ask you, how much energy and time are you losing due to the clutter around you, both physical and emotional? How much of your focus is compromised because of the distractions you face every day? Picture yourself stepping into a space that is calm, organized, and free of distractions. How would that feel? Imagine entering your home or office and immediately feeling at ease, ready to face the day. What would it be like to move through the world unburdened by clutter, whether in your workspace, your home, or in your mind? As you look toward 2025, one of the best things you can do for yourself is simplify the areas of your life that are weighing you down. Whether that means tidying your physical surroundings or letting go of emotional baggage, the clearer your space, the clearer your path forward. And the clearer your path, the more empowered you'll be to achieve your best year yet. So, what are you waiting for? What's the first area you'll simplify to create the focus and freedom you need for an extraordinary 2025? Number 6. What's missing in your life? Have you ever stopped and asked yourself, when was the last time you had a deep, meaningful conversation with someone important to you? Not just a quick text or a casual greeting in passing, but a real exchange where both sides felt truly seen and heard. For many of us, life has become a rush. Work, endless errands, family obligations, and our ever-growing to-do lists. In the chaos of daily life, we often put relationships on the back burner, telling ourselves that we'll get to them later. But as the days pass, that later never really comes, and often the connections we cherish most can begin to feel distant, or worse, lost altogether. I know a man, someone in his mid-40s, who once devoted himself so intensely to his career that he found little time for the people around him. He worked long nights and weekends and spent more time on business trips than at home. His entire focus was on building a career, and ensuring that everything around him was functioning smoothly. But one day, his daughter came up to him and asked, "Dad, why are you always so busy?" It was a simple, innocent question, yet it struck him profoundly. It made him realize that in his quest to provide and achieve, he had been absent in the one place that truly mattered, the lives of the people who loved him. It was a wake-up call. It's easy to lose track of the people who mean the most to us in the pursuit of work and other obligations. And Stoic philosophy reminds us of just how important relationships truly are. As Seneca wisely wrote, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence on the future." Relationships are an essential part of enjoying the present. Studies in modern psychology have only reinforced this, with strong social connections shown to boost not only our mental health, but also our physical well-being. In other words, nurturing the relationships around you isn't just something that's nice to have, it's vital for your overall health. But how do you begin to improve or re-establish meaningful connections? It doesn't have to be overwhelming. Start small. Commit to reaching out to just one person every day. This might mean a simple phone call to a sibling, a thoughtful text to an old friend, or even a brief message to someone you've been meaning to reconnect with. One woman I know shared with me that she started texting her siblings each morning. Just a short, "thinking of you," or "hope your day is amazing." At first, it was a small gesture, but it worked wonders. It helped them reconnect in a way they hadn't in years. Once you've got the ball rolling, prioritize face-to-face interactions as well. No matter how busy life gets, carving out time to meet in person, even just occasionally, can be the key to deepening connections. This could mean scheduling weekly or bi-weekly meetups with those who matter most. Perhaps a coffee with a friend, a walk through the park with your partner, or a casual dinner with your family. I met one couple who made it a point to have Sunday lunch with their adult children every single week. They would laugh, tell stories, and sometimes play board games together. In their words, "It's the highlight of our week." A tradition so simple, yet so impactful. When you do spend time with others, be fully present. It's easy to get distracted, checking your phone or multitasking with other thoughts or chores. But being truly present in the moment, focusing only on the person you're with, can transform a casual exchange into something much more meaningful. This practice not only fosters better communication, but makes the time spent together feel truly valuable. So ask yourself, what relationships in your life could use more care and attention? Who have you been meaning to reach out to, but haven't? Imagine entering 2025 with deeper, more fulfilling connections, not just with family, but also friends and even colleagues. What would that bring to your happiness and your well-being? Strengthening relationships doesn't have to be complex or difficult, but it does require intention. Take a moment today and think about who matters most. Reach out to them, make that call, set a date to meet in person. Start right now and make this year one that's richer in the connections that truly matter. How will you prioritize the people who matter most in your life this year? Number 7. Are you taking care of your greatest asset? What good is chasing success if poor health prevents you from truly enjoying it? Too often, many of us tend to push our health aside, thinking we'll focus on it later, when the big project is done after the holidays or once life slows down a bit. But the truth is, life rarely slows down on its own. When we wait for that perfect moment to prioritize our health, we often end up ignoring it until it's too late. And the cost can be steep. Without good health, everything else becomes more challenging, slow, and sometimes even impossible. I know a man who learned this lesson the hard way. In his 40s, he was completely consumed by his career. He worked 60-hour weeks, surviving mostly on fast food, caffeine, and hardly any sleep. He convinced himself that he would get back to exercising once things settled down. But things never really did settle. When he hit 52, he ended up in the hospital after experiencing a heart scare. It was then that he understood the gravity of his choices. It wasn't a wake-up call, he told me. It was a warning shot. That health scare forced him to take stock of how he had been living, and it was a hard lesson to learn. This is a common story. We often put our health last because of the many demands of our personal and professional lives. But Stoic philosophy teaches us the importance of valuing the things that are truly within our control. Epictetus famously said, "Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens." Your body is your greatest asset, and it's the one thing truly under your control. Yet so many of us neglect it, assuming that we can push off maintaining our health indefinitely. But the body, once neglected, will eventually send us the bill, and it doesn't take kindly to being ignored. Science backs this up. Exercise, proper hydration, and healthy eating are not just about physical appearance. They are fundamental to mental clarity, emotional resilience, and productivity. If you aren't caring for your body, you're likely operating at less than your full potential, and that affects not just your health, but your work and personal life too. So how do we start taking our health seriously? It doesn't require major life changes all at once. Start small and be consistent. Begin with your mornings. First thing upon waking, make it a habit to drink water. You've just gone hours without hydration, and even mild dehydration can rob you of focus and energy. It's a simple action, but it's powerful in setting a positive tone for the rest of your day. Next, focus on movement. You don't need to sign up for a gym membership or carve out an hour for a workout. Instead, start with small, manageable steps. Take 10 minutes to stretch or go for a brisk walk around your neighborhood. One woman I know made it a goal to walk each evening after dinner. It helped her clear her head, improve her mood, and became an integral part of her routine that she looked forward to every day. Another key element is nutrition. Simplify your meals and make small, healthier swaps. Focus on eating whole, minimally processed foods. Emphasize colorful vegetables, lean proteins, and healthy fats. Yes, it's easy to reach for comfort foods during stressful times, but maintaining moderation is key. I recall one man I worked with who replaced his nightly beer with sparkling water, and the improvement in his energy levels and mood after just 1 week was remarkable. Little changes, when made consistently, can have big results over time. Lastly, make your health a priority by scheduling those health checkups you've been putting off. 1 hour with your doctor now can save you countless hours or even years of frustration and health problems down the road. It's easy to put off these appointments, thinking there's plenty of time, but life moves faster than we realize. That perfect moment to get serious about your health may never come. Now is the time to act. Let me ask you this: are you treating your body as your most valuable resource, or are you waiting for a health crisis to remind you? Imagine stepping into 2025 feeling stronger, more focused, and more energized than you have in years. What could you accomplish in both your personal and professional life? Good health isn't just about living longer. It's about living better. It's about maximizing your potential for success, happiness, and fulfillment. Taking care of yourself isn't just a nice to do. It's essential. So what's one small step you can take today to begin caring for your greatest asset? Whether it's drinking more water, moving more, or setting that doctor's appointment, the small intentional steps you take today will pay off in a big way down the road. Don't wait for a wake-up call. Start now and make 2025 your best year yet. As we wrap up, let's take a moment to reflect on what we've covered. We started by recognizing the cycles that hold us back, the habits that derail our progress year after year. We explored how building resilience can help you face life's inevitable chaos with calm and clarity. We talked about the power of focusing on small wins instead of overwhelming goals, creating a framework of accountability, simplifying your life to free your mind, strengthening the relationships that truly matter, and most importantly, prioritizing your greatest asset, your health. Each of these lessons is a building block, a step toward making 2025 the year you stop dreaming and start doing. But none of this happens overnight. It's about showing up every day, taking small, deliberate actions, and staying consistent. Now I want to ask you, which of these steps will you start today? What's one small change you can make right now to create momentum for the year ahead? Share your thoughts or your journey in the comments. I'd love to hear how you're planning to make 2025 your best year yet. Let's build a community of people who are committed to growth, resilience, and living with intention. And if you found this video helpful, hit that like button and subscribe to Stoic Narratives Official. Together, we'll turn ancient wisdom into practical steps for modern life. Here's to your best year yet. Let's make it count. You said to yourself, this is going to be my year. This year I will seriously change. We've all made such resolutions, those bright sparks of determination. But as the months roll by, those promises often fade into the background. Why does this happen? Are you wondering, how much longer do I have to wait to become the best version of myself? Here's the truth. Inside each of us lies untapped power, land with limitless potential. The key to unlocking it? It's not about grand resolutions or distant goals. It's about the small, intentional habits we build every day. Some habits hold us back, anchoring us to the same patterns of frustration and stagnation. But others, they propel us forward, helping us to thrive and live a life of meaning and clarity. So, how do we know which habits to cultivate? And more importantly, how can we make these habits part of our daily lives? In this video, we'll uncover 10 Stoic habits for 2025 that have the power to transform your life. These habits are practical, timeless, and designed to help you achieve resilience, mental clarity, and balance in today's fast-paced world. If you're ready to take control of your destiny, start right now. Like this video, subscribe to Stoic Narratives Official, and let's begin this journey of growth and purpose together. Your better self is waiting. 1. Reaffirm your core principles. Who are you? In a world full of noise and distractions, it's easy to lose sight of who we truly are. The Stoics believe that clarity and strength come from understanding and living by our core principles. Without this foundation, life feels directionless, like a ship without an anchor. The question is, what values define you? A soldier returns home after years of war. He steps off the plane, not into cheers and celebration, but into silence. The bustling world he once knew now feels unfamiliar and disconnected. The man who left as a protector of ideals now finds himself a stranger in his own life. This man, my father, spent his days searching for meaning. He was once guided by a code, a set of principles forged in the fires of duty and discipline. But in the absence of that mission, the clarity he once held crumbled. He grew restless, disoriented, asking questions we all face. Who am I now? What is my purpose? He confided in me that his breakthrough came one evening in solitude. Reflecting on his core values, courage, service, and loyalty, he realized these were not bound by his uniform. They were part of his identity. By journaling and reconnecting with those ideals, he started to rebuild his life. He sought new ways to live by those principles, this time as a father, mentor, and community leader. The lesson here is profound. Life can pull us in 100 directions, and without a clear sense of self, it's easy to feel lost. Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius taught us to turn inward, to examine our core beliefs and align our actions with them. In Meditations, Marcus wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." To begin, take a step back. Reflect on the values that define you. Ask yourself, what do I stand for? What principles would I defend no matter the cost? Write them down. Make them your compass. When you're overwhelmed by external pressures, this compass becomes your anchor. In today's fast-paced world, distractions are everywhere. Work demands, societal expectations, and fleeting trends all compete for our attention. But as the Stoics remind us, peace and clarity come not from chasing what's external, but from grounding ourselves in what's eternal. If you too feel disoriented, start small. Keep a journal. Reflect on the moments that shaped you, your greatest joys and toughest trials. What values carried you through? Have a conversation with someone you trust. someone who knows you well. Their perspective can reveal parts of yourself you may overlook. And remember, this process takes time. My father didn't rebuild his life overnight. It was a slow, deliberate journey. So, be patient with yourself. Understanding who you are is not a one-time event. It's a lifelong evolution. By reaffirming your core principles, you'll find the strength not just to weather life's storms, but to navigate them with confidence and purpose. As my father showed me, when you know who you are, the world may change around you, but you'll remain steadfast, rooted in your values, and unshaken. 2. Set goals that align with your values. In life, setting goals can feel like chasing shadows. We often aim for things that seem important: success, recognition, financial stability, but as we achieve them, we wonder why they don't bring the fulfillment we expected. The problem isn't the effort, it's the disconnect. When goals aren't tied to our core values, they lose their meaning. The Stoics believed that only goals rooted in what we truly value can lead to a life of purpose and satisfaction. This realization became clear to my father after rediscovering his core principles. Knowing who he was gave him clarity, but clarity without direction can feel empty. So he asked himself, what now? Knowing who he was gave him clarity, but without direction, that clarity would fade. He realized he needed something to strive for, something meaningful. But he also knew the goals had to align with the values he'd reaffirmed: courage, service, and loyalty. Otherwise, they'd be just empty pursuits. He began with reflection. Sitting in his quiet study, he thought deeply about what mattered most. He wanted to rebuild his connection with his family, contribute to his community, and find fulfillment in his work. Each of these reflected his core principles. So he set goals: spend more time with his children, volunteer at a local veterans organization, and use his leadership skills to guide younger employees at his job. But these weren't vague resolutions. He broke them into small, actionable steps. For his family, he committed to Sunday dinners, uninterrupted by work. For his community, he started volunteering one weekend a month. And for his career, he scheduled weekly one-on-one mentoring sessions. These steps gave him purpose, without feeling overwhelming. The lesson here is timeless. The Stoics believed that a life aligned with values is a life worth living. Seneca wrote, "If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable." Goals without a foundation in your values lead only to frustration and burnout. If you feel like you're spinning your wheels in life, start by connecting your goals to what truly matters to you. Reflect on your values. What brings you joy? What challenges make you grow? Once you know, create goals that are specific and actionable. Don't aim to spend more time with family. Instead, schedule family dinners or a weekly outing. Replace vague ambitions like do better at work with clear steps like mastering a skill or leading a project. Most importantly, review your goals regularly. Life changes, and so do priorities. What mattered last year may not hold the same weight now. Adjust your direction as needed, ensuring your goals always reflect your evolving values. For my father, these small steps created a ripple effect. As he spent more time with family, their bond grew stronger. His volunteer work brought him new friendships and a renewed sense of purpose. At work, his mentoring not only benefited others but also reignited his passion for leadership. The Stoics teach us that living with intention is the key to fulfillment. When your goals align with your values, every step forward feels meaningful. And with each achievement, no matter how small, you reinforce the life you truly want to live. Ask yourself today, are my goals connected to what I value most? If not, now is the time to start making that connection. 3. Create a mindful routine. Clarity and well-defined goals are only the beginning. Without action, even the most meaningful aspirations remain dreams. The Stoics knew this well. They emphasized the importance of structure and consistency in daily life. A well-crafted routine is not about rigidity. It's about creating a foundation that supports your growth and keeps you aligned with your values and goals. Building a mindful routine starts with intention. Every day is an opportunity, but without a plan, it's easy to drift. Ask yourself, what does my ideal day look like? For my father, rebuilding his life after rediscovering his principles and setting meaningful goals meant rethinking how he spent his time. He realized that his days lacked structure. He was reacting to events rather than shaping them. So, he began small. Each morning, he started with a moment of reflection, writing down 3 things he wanted to achieve that day. He carved out time for his priorities, spending an hour mentoring at work, a walk with the family after dinner, and quiet reading before bed. These activities were simple but deliberate. They aligned with his goals and gave his day a sense of purpose and balance. The Stoics, like Seneca, taught that life without a design is erratic. When you create a routine, you gain control. Instead of being pulled in different directions, you focus your energy on what matters most. A routine isn't about doing more, it's about doing what's meaningful. If you find yourself overwhelmed or feeling like your days slip by without progress, consider this. Start small. Identify one habit that aligns with your goals. Whether it's a 15-minute morning reflection, a dedicated work block, or even a short walk to clear your mind. Build on that habit gradually. A mindful routine doesn't require perfection, it requires consistency. Remember, flexibility is key. Life is unpredictable, but a strong routine can adapt without breaking. My father often told me, it's not about sticking to the plan perfectly, it's about returning to it when life pulls you away. A well-designed routine doesn't just make you productive, it brings peace of mind. By structuring your day around what truly matters, you create space for both growth and inner calm. The lesson is clear. Routines are not just about efficiency, they're about living intentionally. 4. Do something difficult. Growth does not happen in comfort. The Stoics believe that true transformation requires deliberately seeking challenges that test your limits. It's not about recklessness, but about stepping beyond what feels safe to explore your full potential. Doing something difficult isn't just a task, it's a mindset that teaches you resilience, patience, and inner strength. When we avoid challenges, we stagnate. Comfort zones, while soothing, can act as invisible walls that confine our growth. Consider this. You set a goal to advance in your career, yet you shy away from leadership opportunities because they feel overwhelming. Or perhaps, you wish to strengthen relationships but avoid difficult conversations. In each case, it is the avoidance of difficulty that holds you back, not the challenges themselves. To achieve your goals, start incorporating tasks that push your boundaries but remain within your control. If your aim is professional growth, volunteer for a challenging project or learn a complex skill. These experiences, though uncomfortable, are where progress happens. For personal growth, take on emotional challenges, engage in honest conversations with loved ones, or face long-standing fears, like confronting past mistakes. The Stoics emphasize the idea of premeditation malorum, preparing for hardship by imagining the difficulties you might face. This practice doesn't make challenges easier, but equips you with the mental clarity to handle them wisely. For example, if you're nervous about taking on a new responsibility, visualize the obstacles you might encounter. How will you react? What tools or strategies can you employ to overcome them? This preparation reduces anxiety and builds confidence. Another angle to consider is the long-term benefits of tackling challenges. Every difficult task you complete adds to your resilience and capacity to face future trials. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. By confronting difficulty, you transform obstacles into stepping stones for success. Moreover, challenges often reveal strengths you didn't know you had. Taking on something outside your comfort zone teaches you not only about the task, but also about yourself. It fosters creativity, problem-solving, and adaptability, skills that are vital in both personal and professional life. Finally, remember that difficulty is subjective. What feels challenging to one person may be routine for another. Focus on your journey and avoid comparing your progress to others. Growth is personal, and it's the act of stretching your boundaries that matters most. By deliberately choosing to do something difficult, you take control of your growth. You step closer to your goals, develop unshakable inner strength, and ultimately embody the Stoic principle of thriving through adversity. The question to ask yourself isn't, will this be hard, but rather, what will I gain by doing this? 5. Stop fearing change and embrace it. Change is the constant shadow of growth. After creating a routine and pushing yourself with difficult tasks, you'll inevitably encounter situations that demand adaptation. These moments, where the old ways no longer work, are where real transformation begins. The Stoics taught us to view change not as a disruption, but as a natural part of life, a catalyst for growth. Think back to the story of my dad. If, on that day, he had clung to fear and resisted the change of sharing his story, he would have stayed stuck in his comfort zone, living with unspoken fears and untapped potential. Instead, he chose to step forward, embracing the uncertainty of a new path. That willingness to adapt and evolve changed his life and inspired others. Change often feels threatening because it disrupts the familiar. Yet, as Marcus Aurelius reminds us, loss is nothing but change, and change is nature's delight. Resisting change keeps us confined to old patterns, while embracing it opens doors to new possibilities. The key is not to fight change, but to prepare for it and navigate it wisely. To do this, start by breaking change into manageable parts. If you're transitioning to a new role at work, focus on mastering one skill or building one relationship at a time. If personal changes feel overwhelming, begin with small steps like adjusting your daily habits or exploring new ways to communicate. This method prevents the fear of the unknown from becoming paralyzing. Another Stoic principle that helps is the concept of focusing on what you can control. When change comes, identify the aspects within your influence and take deliberate actions there. For example, if a workplace reorganization alters your role, concentrate on improving your skills and adaptability, rather than worrying about outcomes you can't control. Additionally, reflect on past experiences. Remember times when change led to growth or opportunities you didn't expect. Let those memories remind you that adapting to new circumstances often results in outcomes far better than staying the same. Finally, view change as a teacher. Every moment of adaptation teaches resilience, creativity, and problem-solving. As Epictetus said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Your response to change defines whether it becomes a barrier or a bridge to your goals. The truth is that resisting change is futile because life itself is ever-changing. By embracing it, you align yourself with the flow of nature, unlocking new levels of strength and clarity. So ask yourself, what's one change I've been resisting? How can I face it with courage and wisdom today? 6. Control anxiety by focusing on what you can influence. Anxiety has a way of creeping into our lives, whispering fears about things we can't control. It clouds our judgment and leaves us stuck, unable to move forward. But the Stoics taught us a profound truth. Anxiety isn't caused by external events, it's caused by our thoughts about them. In today's fast-paced world, we face countless triggers for anxiety. From work deadlines to financial pressures or even the uncertainty of relationships, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. You might find yourself asking, what if this doesn't work out? Or what if I fail? These thoughts loop endlessly, robbing you of peace. Here's the key. Instead of letting anxiety control you, shift your focus to what's within your power. The Stoics called this the dichotomy of control. Marcus Aurelius famously wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. When you redirect your energy toward actions you can influence, anxiety begins to lose its grip. For example, imagine you're worried about an important presentation at work. Instead of obsessing over how others might react, focus on preparing your content and practicing your delivery. These are actions within your control. Similarly, if you're anxious about finances, concentrate on creating a budget or finding small ways to save. Another practical tool is mindfulness. When anxious thoughts arise, pause and ask yourself, is this fear based on reality, or is it just my mind playing tricks on me? Most of the time, anxiety stems from imagined scenarios, not actual problems. Breathing exercises or journaling can help ground you, bringing clarity to what's real and actionable. It's also important to accept that some things will always remain outside your control. The Stoics didn't advocate for passivity. They taught us to focus our efforts where they matter most. By letting go of the uncontrollable, you free yourself from unnecessary suffering. Reflect on this. How much of your energy is spent worrying about things you can't change? What could you achieve if that energy were directed toward things within your influence? The lesson here is simple but transformative. Anxiety feeds on uncertainty, but certainty lies in your actions. The next time you feel overwhelmed, remember to center yourself on what you can do, not what you can't. That shift in focus doesn't just reduce stress, It empowers you to take control of your life with clarity and confidence. 7. Master the art of saying no. In a world overflowing with demands, opportunities, and distractions, the ability to say no has become a rare skill. Yet, it's one of the most powerful tools for protecting your time, energy, and focus. By setting boundaries and declining commitments that don't align with your values, you free yourself to prioritize what truly matters: your relationships, growth, and well-being. Saying no often feels uncomfortable. We worry about disappointing others or missing out. But the reality is that every yes to something unimportant is a no to something essential. Imagine your life as a garden. If you spend all your time watering weeds, there's no space for the flowers to grow. The Stoics recognized this challenge and taught the importance of discernment. Marcus Aurelius wisely noted, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." This principle reminds us that not all commitments are worth our time. And saying no is not a rejection of others, it's a commitment to ourselves. Begin by evaluating your current obligations. Are they aligned with your goals and values? If not, it may be time to set boundaries. For example, if your evenings are consumed by unnecessary meetings or social obligations, consider politely declining future invitations. Instead, use that time to connect with loved ones, pursue personal growth, or simply rest. When saying no, honesty and clarity are key. You don't need elaborate excuses, just a simple, respectful explanation. For instance, if someone asks you to take on a task that conflicts with your priorities, you could say, "I appreciate the opportunity, but I need to focus on other commitments right now." Another Stoic lesson to remember is that we cannot please everyone. Epictetus taught that our energy is finite, and it's better spent on what brings meaning and fulfillment. Trying to meet every expectation only leads to exhaustion and resentment. By saying no to distractions, you create space for intentionality and balance. Reflect on this. How many times have you agreed to something out of obligation, only to regret it later? What if you redirected that energy towards something that truly mattered to you? Saying no isn't about shutting people out. It's about opening up space for the right people, activities, and goals. It's an act of self-respect and a step toward living with purpose. Start small today. Choose one thing to decline and see how it lightens your load. By mastering this art, you'll find more time, energy, and clarity for what truly makes your life meaningful. 8. Surround yourself with positive influences. The people we spend time with shape who we are. A positive environment fosters motivation, inspiration, and accountability, while negative relationships can drain your energy and keep you stuck. The Stoics understood this deeply, often emphasizing the importance of surrounding oneself with those who elevate your thinking and character. Think back to my father's story. His transformation wasn't a solitary journey. He found strength because he was surrounded by a supportive family, loyal friends, and a community of veterans who understood his struggles. Their encouragement and guidance reminded him of his values and gave him the courage to rebuild his life. Without these connections, his path might have been far lonelier and harder. Seneca wisely advised, associate with people who are likely to improve you. The Stoics knew that just as a rotten apple can spoil the bunch, negative influences can subtly erode your confidence and resolve. On the other hand, being around people who share your values and inspire growth can make all the difference. Ask yourself, who are the people closest to you? Do they motivate you to pursue your goals, challenge you to grow, and celebrate your progress? Or do they drain your energy, fill your mind with doubt, or pull you away from what matters most? Identifying these dynamics is the first step to curating a positive environment. If you find that your current circle doesn't align with your values, take proactive steps to expand your network. Seek out communities or groups that share your passions. Whether it's a professional association, a hobby group, or even an online forum, connecting with like-minded people can provide encouragement and accountability. For example, if you're aiming to improve your fitness, joining a running club or a gym class can surround you with others who share the same drive. Another Stoic principle to consider is the idea of learning as you teach. By engaging with positive influences, you not only absorb their wisdom, but also contribute to their growth. This creates a cycle of mutual improvement that strengthens everyone involved. Remember, surrounding yourself with the right people doesn't mean cutting ties completely with those who aren't perfect. It's about setting boundaries and choosing how you spend your energy. Focus on relationships that nurture your mind and soul, and limit time spent with those who detract from your growth. The lesson is clear. You can't always control what life throws at you, but you can control who you choose to walk through it with. By cultivating a positive environment, you create the foundation for resilience, motivation, and enduring success. 9. Practice resilience by bouncing back quickly. Failure is often seen as the end of the road, a sign that we're not good enough or capable enough. But the Stoics teach us to see it differently. Resilience isn't about avoiding failure, it's about how quickly and wisely you respond when it happens. By reframing failures as opportunities to learn, you shift from a mindset of defeat to one of growth. In life, setbacks are inevitable. Perhaps you didn't get the promotion you were aiming for, or a personal relationship took an unexpected turn. These moments hurt, and it's easy to spiral into self-doubt. But instead of viewing these events as permanent roadblocks, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I adapt and improve? The Stoic philosopher Epictetus emphasized, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Every failure carries a lesson. Maybe it's a reminder to prepare better next time, or a signal to change your approach. The key is to practice self-compassion. Acknowledge the mistake, but don't let it define you. Take a moment to reflect on past failures in your life. How did you handle them? Did they push you to grow, or did they hold you back? My father, in his journey to rebuild his life, faced many moments where plans didn't unfold as expected. Yet, instead of giving up, he saw these as chances to refine his strategy. His resilience wasn't just about persistence. It was about learning, adapting, and trying again. To cultivate resilience, start by accepting that failure is part of life. It doesn't mean you've lost. It means you're trying. When setbacks happen, pause and assess the situation. Write down what went wrong, what you could have done differently, and what's within your control to change. This process not only clarifies the lesson, but also keeps you focused on moving forward. Another way to build resilience is to keep your long-term goals in mind. Temporary failures are just that, temporary. By focusing on the bigger picture, you're less likely to get stuck in the frustration of the moment. Remember, progress is rarely linear. Each stumble is a step toward your ultimate goal. The Stoics remind us that setbacks are not enemies, but teachers. By practicing resilience, you turn failures into stepping stones. So the next time life knocks you down, ask yourself, what's the next step forward? With this mindset, every challenge becomes an opportunity to grow stronger and more prepared for the road ahead. As we bring this journey to a close, remember that the path to a meaningful life begins with the choices you make each day. Reaffirming your principles, aligning your goals with your values, creating mindful routines, embracing challenges, and mastering the art of saying no are not just abstract ideas. They are practical steps to reshape your life with purpose and resilience. The Stoics remind us that wisdom is not gained by chance, but through practice. Each habit we've discussed holds the potential to guide you toward inner peace, clarity, and strength. Whether it's finding the courage to embrace change or building resilience by reframing failures, these lessons are not for tomorrow. They are for today. Take a moment to reflect on what resonated most with you. Is there one habit you can start practicing now? Perhaps it's letting go of distractions, strengthening your boundaries, or surrounding yourself with people who inspire growth. Start small, but be consistent. The transformation lies in the practice, not the perfection. I invite you to share your journey in the comments below. What lessons stood out to you? Have you faced a moment in your life that taught you the value of resilience, clarity, or focus? Your story could inspire someone else to take their first step. If you found these insights helpful, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Stoic Narratives Official. Together, we can create a community grounded in wisdom, strength, and purpose. Every day offers a new opportunity to grow, to learn, and to align with your values. As you step forward, remember that the greatest power lies in living intentionally. The Stoics believed this, and so did you. Start today. Your best self is waiting. Life today feels like a never-ending race. The alarm rings, you grab your phone, and suddenly you're pulled into a whirlwind of notifications, emails, and news updates. Before you know it, half the day is gone, and your mind is spinning with stress and scattered thoughts. Sound familiar? This isn't just your story. It's the reality for so many men juggling work, family, and the pressure to keep up in a fast-paced world. But here's a bold truth. It doesn't have to be this way. What if there was a way to take back control, to feel calm, focused, and purposeful again? Stoic philosophy, proven by both ancient wisdom and modern science, holds the answers. It's not about abandoning life's responsibilities, but about approaching them with clarity and resilience. Are you ready to discover how Stoicism can help you overcome distractions, manage emotions, and lead with strength? In this video, we'll explore powerful yet practical lessons that can reshape your life in 2025. These ideas are designed for modern men like you, men who want to thrive, not just survive. Before we dive in, hit the like button and subscribe to Stoic Narratives Official. Together, we'll unlock the principles that lead to a stronger mind, deeper connections, and a life that truly aligns with your values. Let's start this journey to clarity and purpose, right here, right now. Number 1. Master your digital fortress. Control the chaos. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." In a world dominated by technology, where every buzz, ping, and notification seems to demand our attention, these words carry profound meaning. Today, we are constantly surrounded by distractions, texts, emails, social media updates, and news flashes that seem urgent, pulling us in all directions. The chaos isn't just external. It seeps into our thoughts, our decisions, and even our relationships. This is why learning to master our digital fortress is more important than ever. Consider this scenario. A man sits down to enjoy dinner with his family, his phone by his side. Almost immediately, it lights up with notifications. An email, a news alert, a social media post. They all seem important, so he takes a glance. Before he knows it, he's deep into an online conversation, completely distracted from the moment he's supposed to be sharing with his loved ones. Sound familiar? This isn't just about distraction. It's about allowing the outside world to take control of our inner peace and peace of mind. Stoic philosophy teaches us that we don't need to let external forces dictate how we feel or how we live our lives. The truth is, it's not about disconnecting from technology entirely. It's about learning how to use it on our terms. Technology is a tool meant to serve us, not control us. By setting clear boundaries, we can protect our mental space and avoid unnecessary stress. For example, you might try scheduling tech-free meals, or begin your day with mindfulness instead of diving into emails. Research shows that taking breaks from screens actually enhances focus, lowers stress levels, and improves our overall well-being. Think about how much time you spend reacting to notifications that will have no impact tomorrow. Have you ever wondered how much more you could accomplish if you reclaimed that time? The beauty of mastering your digital fortress is that it doesn't require drastic changes. It can start with small steps. Turning off non-essential alerts, setting boundaries around phone use, or dedicating certain hours for tech-free time can make a huge difference. Picture this. Rather than being bombarded with emails the moment you wake up, you start your day intentionally, calm and focused, ready to engage with the day ahead. This approach isn't just about becoming more productive. It's about building mental resilience. In a world that constantly pulls us in different directions, learning to control where we focus our attention is empowering. The world will always be noisy, but we can decide how much of that noise we allow into our lives. So, how will you guard your digital fortress today? What's one small step you can take to regain control over your attention and protect your inner peace? Remember, your mind is your most powerful ally. Treat it as such. By mastering your digital environment, you are also mastering your life. Number 2. Focus on the present. Act now, not later. True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future. Seneca. We've all been there, caught in the endless cycle of planning, anticipating, and second-guessing. It's so easy to get caught up in the rush of tomorrow, worrying about what's to come, or replaying yesterday's mistakes in our minds, thinking we could have done things differently. We let the present slip away while we chase after what's already gone or hasn't even arrived. Yet, as Seneca wisely points out, happiness isn't about waiting for the right moment or perfecting the past. It's about finding peace in the here and now. Picture this: a man at his desk, staring at his never-ending to-do list. His mind is filled with the anxiety of unfinished tasks from yesterday and an overwhelming pile of things to do tomorrow. He starts one task but quickly jumps to another, struggling to focus on any one thing for long. By the end of the day, he feels exhausted, but if he looks back, he realizes that nothing got done. Does this sound familiar? The truth is, it wasn't the workload that drained him. It was his inability to focus on now. Stoicism teaches us that the only moment we truly own is the present. Time is fleeting, and once it's gone forever. This is a message echoed not just by philosophers but by modern science as well. Neuroscience shows that being present, practicing mindfulness, and grounding yourself in the moment can reduce stress and increase productivity. So, why do we spend so much of our time living anywhere but the present moment? Is it the comfort of imagining a better future, or the misguided belief that ruminating over the past will somehow change it? Let's break it down. The next time you start your day, don't let the sheer magnitude of your to-do list overwhelm you. Instead, focus on one clear goal, just one. This small but intentional choice helps anchor your actions. Whether you're eating, working, or talking to someone, make a conscious effort to truly engage in that moment. When eating, savor the flavors. When someone speaks, listen deeply without planning your reply. These simple acts of mindfulness help pull you back to the here and now. And let's not forget the humor in all of this. Ever caught yourself worrying about something trivial, like whether you locked the door, only to realize later that it didn't even matter? Life has a way of showing us how often we waste time and energy on what doesn't matter, while the important moments pass us by. Now think about this. How many moments of joy are slipping away because your mind is elsewhere? What precious memories are you missing out on because you're distracted by things you can't control? Imagine what it would feel like to live fully in the moment, noticing the little details, the warmth of the sun on your skin, the laughter of your child, or even the simple satisfaction of completing a task with focus and care. Today is not just a stepping stone to tomorrow. It is the foundation for everything that follows. So ask yourself, what's one small change you can make today to ground yourself in the present? When you begin to experience the clarity, peace, and joy of truly living in the now, you'll wonder how you ever managed without it. Number 3. Stop seeking validation. Define your standards. Epictetus once said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." This quote challenges the conventional need for approval from others, urging us to define success on our terms. We live in a world where external validation often feels like a necessity, yet Stoicism teaches us that it is precisely the pursuit of others' approval that keeps us from living authentically. How often do we bend and twist to meet the expectations of others? Whether at work, in our social circles, or on social media, the desire for validation seems to creep in, influencing our decisions and our self-worth. Consider the man who spends hours preparing the perfect post on social media. He selects the best photo, crafts a witty caption, and obsessively checks back to monitor the likes and comments. When the likes don't come in as expected, he feels deflated and discouraged, even though, on some level, he knows it shouldn't matter. Here's the kicker. The issue wasn't the post, but the belief that his worth was tied to the number of likes or shares he received. His value was dictated by someone else's fleeting approval. Stoicism invites us to challenge this mindset by focusing inward rather than relying on external validation. True freedom, according to the Stoics, arises when we define our standards. Modern psychology aligns with this idea. Research consistently shows that intrinsic motivation, living in alignment with our values and passions, leads to deeper satisfaction and long-term happiness. So why then do we continue to seek external validation? Is it because we believe that approval from others will somehow confirm our worth? Or is it simply easier to rely on others' opinions than to do the hard work of developing self-acceptance? Here's the hard truth. You'll never be able to please everyone. Even if you hit every target and say all the right things, there will always be someone somewhere ready to criticize you. So why waste precious energy trying to fit into molds that weren't made for you? Instead, take a step back and ask yourself, what do I value? What kind of person do I want to be? Write those answers down and let them guide your actions, not the opinions of others. Let's add a little humor here to lighten the mood. Picture this. Someone spends hours obsessing over how their lawn looks, worrying that their neighbors will judge them. They meticulously trim, mow, and rake, only to discover that the neighbor didn't even notice. We often give far too much weight to things that don't matter, don't we? Imagine the liberation of living authentically, where your actions align with your values instead of someone else's expectations. How much lighter would you feel if you stopped chasing likes, nods, or compliments and simply embraced the freedom of being yourself? Here's a question for you. What's one area of your life where you're still seeking validation from others? What would happen if, just for one day, you let go of that need and trust your judgment instead? You might just discover that the approval you've been chasing was never as important as you once thought. The true validation comes from within, and that's where your real power lies. Number 4. Build emotional armor. Stop being a slave to emotions. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This profound wisdom rings true for anyone who has ever let anger, fear, frustration control their actions. Emotions are powerful. They can ignite a fire within us, or they can burn us out entirely. However, the key to mastering them is not in eliminating them, but in learning to respond to them thoughtfully, rather than reacting impulsively. Let's consider an example. Picture a man driving home after a long day of work. He's already tired, mentally drained, and eager to get to his couch. Suddenly, another car cuts him off, and just like that, a wave of anger surges through him. His hands tighten around the steering wheel, his heart races, and he mutters under his breath, ready to lash out. By the time he pulls into his driveway, the anger still lingers. He's carried that negative emotion with him all the way home, letting it poison his evening. But here's the twist. The other driver likely didn't even notice him, let alone intend to hurt him. Yet he allowed that split-second event to control his entire evening. This is where Stoicism offers an enlightening perspective. Modern neuroscience tells us that emotions are natural. Our bodies react to stimuli in ways that are often beyond our control. Like waves, they rise and fall, unpredictable and powerful. But here's the Stoic secret. We have the power to choose how we respond to these waves. We don't have to let them crash over us uncontrollably. When we pause, step back, and reflect on our emotional response, we create space between stimulus and reaction. That's when we can choose how to act with clarity and wisdom, rather than allowing impulsive reactions to dictate our actions. Think about it. How many times have you been in a heated argument, only to look back and realize that taking a breath would have diffused the situation entirely? Or how many opportunities have you missed because fear or self-doubt convinced you that you weren't ready? These emotions, though valid, can sometimes be exaggerated in our minds, leading us to make decisions that aren't aligned with our true goals or values. The more we allow emotions to rule our behavior, the more we surrender our power to them, often with regret. The next time you feel a surge of emotion, whether it's frustration in a work meeting or anxiety before making an important decision, take a moment to pause, count to 10, breathe deeply. Ask yourself, what is this emotion trying to tell me? Is my reaction helpful or harmful? That simple pause creates room for clarity, allowing you to respond with intentionality instead of being swept away by the current of your feelings. It's important to note that emotions often exaggerate. We've all been there, stressing over a presentation or an important conversation, only to realize afterward that the outcome wasn't nearly as bad as we imagined. Humor can be an ally here. Sometimes our minds take on a dramatic, exaggerated narrative that's far from reality. Recognizing that can help us detach from emotional turbulence. So here's the question. What would your life look like if you stopped letting emotions dictate your actions? How would your relationships change if you chose patience over anger, understanding over frustration? How much stress could you shed if you faced your fears instead of running from them? Embrace the truth that you have the power over your emotions, not the other way around. You can choose how to respond. How will you use that power today? Number 5. Simplify your life. Need less, live more. True wealth lies in wanting less than you have, said Epictetus. This profound Stoic insight serves as a timeless guide for simplifying our lives and finding true contentment. We live in a world where more is often seen as better. More money, more things, more recognition. Yet, despite accumulating more, many find themselves feeling emptier than ever. What if the secret to happiness lies not in acquiring more, but in needing less? Imagine a woman who spent her days chasing the latest trends, constantly purchasing things she didn't need. Her home was filled with things she rarely used, and her bank account was barely keeping up. Yet, she felt an inner void, a sense of dissatisfaction that all the new things she had couldn't fill. One day, she decided to radically change her approach. She began by decluttering her home, selling off half of her possessions and focusing only on what truly added value to her life. The result? A profound sense of freedom, clarity, and a deeper connection with herself. She discovered that her need for more things had been a distraction from the life she truly wanted to live. What about you? Do you ever find yourself accumulating things or chasing goals that might not add real value to your happiness? How often do you feel the pressure to keep up with external standards of success, only to realize that they leave you feeling more disconnected and stressed? Here's the twist. Simplifying doesn't mean depriving yourself of enjoyment or pleasure. It means prioritizing what truly matters. The Stoics didn't advise self-denial for the sake of hardship, but rather for the sake of clarity. Ask yourself, does owning the latest gadgets or constantly upgrading your wardrobe bring lasting joy, or does it just add more clutter to your mind and your life? How much of your stress comes from maintaining things you don't even truly care about, things that you keep only because society says you should? And let's face it, many of the things we need are often just attempts to impress others. The new car, the designer handbag, or the flashy gadget. Do they truly bring us fulfillment? Or are they just ways to gain approval from people who don't even really know us? Simplifying is about reclaiming the power to define our worth, not allowing the opinions of others to dictate our happiness. It's about saying, I define who I am, not my stuff. Here's a challenge for you. What's one thing you could let go of today that doesn't serve your well-being? Maybe it's an old habit that's holding you back, a toxic relationship that drains your energy, or even just that cluttered drawer in your kitchen that's been bothering you for months. Think about the mental relief and clarity you'd gain by making space in your life for what truly matters. By simplifying, you free yourself from unnecessary stress and distractions. You make room for things that nourish your soul, meaningful relationships, personal growth, and experiences that truly enrich your life. The next time you're tempted to buy something or take on another obligation, ask yourself, does this align with my values and what I truly need? Or am I just filling a void? Remember, true abundance isn't measured by how much you have, but by how little you need to feel content. So what's stopping you from starting today? Let go of the excess, embrace simplicity, and rediscover the wealth that comes from living with less, but loving life more. Number 6. Strengthen relationships. Lead with emotional intelligence. Man is not disturbed by things, but by the views he takes of them, wrote Epictetus, reminding us that our emotions and how we handle them shape our relationships. Emotional intelligence is the art of understanding those emotions and using them wisely, not just for ourselves, but for others. In the context of relationships, it can mean the difference between building trust and sparking conflict. Picture a man whose colleague frequently interrupts him during meetings. Frustrated, he initially considers snapping back or avoiding future conversations, but instead he pauses, reflects, and decides to approach the situation calmly. He shares how the interruptions affect him, but he also asks if something is bothering the colleague. This act of emotional intelligence diffuses tension and reveals a misunderstanding. Imagine if he had let anger dictate his actions. Would the outcome have been so constructive? We've all been in situations where emotions seem to take the wheel. Maybe a friend cancels plans last minute, and the sting of rejection sparks a petty response. But here's the Stoic twist. What if we could see beyond our immediate feelings? Could it be that their cancellation has more to do with their struggles than our worth? How often do we let assumptions sabotage meaningful connections? Leading with emotional intelligence requires two things: mastering your own emotions and showing empathy for others. It's not about suppressing feelings, but responding thoughtfully. Think of it this way. If you're drowning in your frustrations, how can you notice someone else's pain? Emotional intelligence is like a bridge. It connects self-awareness to compassion, allowing you to navigate tricky conversations with grace. Here's a humorous truth. Most people aren't mind readers. That passive-aggressive sigh? It's probably lost on your partner or friend. Direct communication, assertive yet kind, is often the simplest solution. So why do we default to expecting others to just know what we need? What if we flipped the script and focused on understanding their needs instead? Now let's pose a challenge. Think of a recent disagreement you had. Did you respond with curiosity or defensiveness? Did you seek to understand, or did you react based on assumptions? Emotional intelligence asks us to lean into discomfort, to ask, what's happening here, instead of lashing out or shutting down. As you reflect, consider this. How might your relationships transform if you consistently practiced patience, empathy, and open dialogue? Leading with emotional intelligence isn't just about avoiding conflict. It's about fostering deeper connections rooted in trust and understanding. After all, isn't that the foundation of any meaningful relationship? Number 7. Embrace change. Flow with life's shifts. Nothing endures but change, said Heraclitus, echoed later by Stoic philosophers who embraced the inevitability of life's shifts. It's a truth that can feel both freeing and unsettling. Change is the one constant, yet how often do we resist it, clinging to what's familiar even when it no longer serves us? Stoicism teaches us that instead of fighting the current, we should learn to flow with it. Consider a woman whose job unexpectedly gets downsized. At first, she's overwhelmed by fear. What will she do next? But after some reflection, she realizes it's an opportunity. She's always wanted to start her own business, but the stability of her job kept her from leaping. What seemed like a loss became a door she hadn't dared to open before. Would she have reached this realization if she had let fear paralyze her? Change often feels like an unwelcome guest, showing up when we least expect it. But have you noticed that it's not the change itself that causes the most stress? It's our resistance to it. Why do we assume life should remain predictable when everything around us, seasons, relationships, even our bodies, is in constant motion? If a river froze mid-flow, wouldn't it lose its purpose? Why then do we try to stop the flow of our own lives? Stoic philosophy encourages us to view change not as a threat, but as an opportunity to grow. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Adapt yourself to the things with which your lot has been cast." Think about that for a moment. What if every challenge, every curveball, was a chance to strengthen your resolve, to redefine your path? Maybe that awkward breakup wasn't the end of your love life. It was the beginning of learning what you truly value in a partner. And let's face it, life's unpredictability can sometimes be hilarious. Ever planned a perfect vacation only to have it rained out? A man once spent weeks organizing a hiking trip, only to find the trail closed due to flooding. Disappointed, he decided to explore the small town nearby instead, stumbling upon a hidden gem of a cafe where he met lifelong friends. Sometimes the best stories come from the plans that didn't work out. Here's something to ponder. When was the last time a change you dreaded turned out better than you imagined? How did it shape who you are today? We often fear change because it feels like losing control. But isn't it also where growth and discovery live? As you navigate the inevitable shifts in life, ask yourself, what can this teach me? How might it redirect me toward something I didn't know I needed? Flowing with change doesn't mean giving up. It means trusting that even the unexpected can carry you somewhere worthwhile. After all, isn't life's beauty in its unpredictability? As Marcus Aurelius once said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Throughout this video, we've explored practical Stoic principles to help you simplify your life, strengthen relationships, and embrace change with confidence. These lessons aren't just abstract philosophy. They're tools to help you navigate everyday challenges with resilience and clarity. Imagine how different your life could feel if you approached emotional manipulation, toxic behavior, or even self-doubt with the calm wisdom of Stoicism. By focusing on what you can control, letting go of what you can't, and aligning your actions with your values, you create a life built on trust, self-awareness, and purpose. But the key lies in consistent practice. It's not enough to know these ideas. Living them is what transforms. What small change will you start with today? Could it be letting go of a toxic friendship, setting clearer boundaries, or simply pausing before reacting in a moment of conflict? Reflect on your journey and consider how these insights might reshape the way you interact with yourself and others. I'd love to hear your thoughts. How do you plan to apply these Stoic principles? Share your stories or reflections in the comments. Your journey might inspire someone else. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe to Stoic Narratives Official, and join our growing community of thoughtful, growth-focused individuals. Let's